Protests in Minneapolis have been taking place for days before the verdict.
12646.
Found guilty in the death of George Floyd, an African-American man, is Derek Chauvin, a white former police officer.
Find the defendant guilty.
Despite the verdict, demonstrations are expected to continue, says Los Angeles pastor Najuma Smith-Pollard.
There is no satisfaction in any of the guilty charges. Satisfaction would be George Floyd still being alive.
Many businesses have been boarding up, fearing a repeat of the riots that took place last year after the death of George Floyd.
Certainly that's a possibility. Certainly those are things that people are, weary of. And if that happens, even to some degree, that can be expected because people are angry.
In law enforcement, we knew there would be riots, no matter what the verdict was.
Retired police sergeant and spokesperson for the National Police Association, Betsy Smith, says people's emotions are fueled by the media's portrayal of justice.
I believe that a lot of the legacy media in the United States perpetuates this distrust of the justice system and helps people to completely misunderstand how our system works.
Smith says the portrayal of law enforcement among some media outlets in the U.S. has been unfair.
Many media outlets and activist groups who have said that Derek Chauvin is the face of American law enforcement. He's not, and that's not how our justice system works. Imagine if we did just the opposite. Every cop killer who was on trial for murder, if we said, oh, this cop killer is the face of African Americans, and this cop killer is the face of Caucasian Americans. This cop killer on trial right now is the face of Asian Americans. We don't do that because that's not our system.
But members of the Black Lives Matter movement and Smith-Pollard say there is a deeper problem of racism in the country.
Because it's really not about just Chauvin the person. It's about an institution that is filled with racism.
What do we do?
And that's why Smith-Pollard says people will continue with protests and conversations about the deep divide on the issue of racism in the U.S. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News.